Marius and his brothers are in a race against time to catch a mysterious figure named Arika. What secrets does she hold, and how will their pursuit change their lives? Unravel the mysteries with us and subscribe for the latest updates on the Alpha's quest. 78. Marius. I had been thinking of Rikkard's email for the whole day, especially the threats in them. It enraged my wolf because Rikkard made those threats to my mate indirectly. It took me all the self-control not to send him a war declaration. I used to dislike him previously for his unpredictable and borderline insane personality, but that email had incited a hellish loathe against him that tested all my resolves. I had to constantly remind myself that even though that email contained threats against my mate, it also held the invitation from Rikkard to work together on this important matter. At such a moment, collaboration was necessary, but it made my nerves tingle. When I reached home after doing some pack duties, I found Caspian and Lyra in the office together, discussing something solemnly while Lyra sat on his lap, looking cozy and relaxed. The sight of her reminded me how long of a day it had been without her. Even though I had gone to sleep with her last night, I still craved for her so fucking much that it was starting to hurt for not marking her yet. My wolf desperately wanted to complete the mating process with her and be completely bonded. I grunted seeing them together. I was glad that we seemed to be finally progressing together, but at the same time the process didn't feel fast enough to my wolf. I tried to ignore his nagging needs, but I failed when Lyra's eyes lit up with a salacious spark as soon as she glanced at me. Just one look from her turned the spark of desire into a raging fire. I couldn't help but step in and capture her lips while she remained seated on Caspian's lap. The way she moaned against my mouth made me want to erupt like a volcano and consume her into the lava of my desire. I missed you, she mumbled against my lips, making me groan. I tried to pull her in my arms, but she gave me a teasing smile and glanced at the screens. We were waiting for you, she told me solemnly. I glanced at Caspian to see if this would be about Rikkard's email, and he nodded at me. I hate when you two do that, Lyra scoffed at the two of us, poking an accusing finger in my chest. Do what? I asked, and Caspian chuckled. Communicate silently, Lyra grumbled, climbing off Caspian's lap. It makes me feel left out, she complained, and Caspian gave me an amused look. Stop doing it, she hissed angrily. I shot my brother a sharp look. He was into teasing Lyra, but I didn't like to see her fussy. I liked more of her soft and needy side that always seemed to come out when she was with me. I suppressed a groan as the need to touch her and have her surge through my whole body, worsening my ache for her. Lyra sighed at my reaction. I'm sorry, baby girl. We cannot help it, I assured her, stepping beside her chair and tipping her chin to capture her lips again. We'll make sure to include you next time. Immediately, Caspian shot me a suggestive look, irking me. Lyra made a noise of frustration and glared at Caspian, who grinned at her mischievously. Before my brother could rile her up even more, I intervened. Did you read the email from Rikkard? I asked, and instantly the playful aura from the room drained away. Of course, I always had to be the one to burst the balloons and ruin the party. However, my mate didn't seem to care. She was primarily focused on me, and that pleased a large part of me. Yes, she breathed, a dark look spreading across her face. I think it'd be best if we talk to him about this. We can work out something together as long as he doesn't get to know that I'm the real culprit, Lyra spoke, staring gravely at the screens, deep in her thoughts. I glanced at Caspian to see what he thought of it, and he nodded at me. All of us are on the same page then, I noted. We should reach out to Rikkard as soon as possible and see what he has for us. When are we going to talk to tonight? I stated before Caspian could complete his question. I want to talk to him today. Call it impatience, but I want to act before Arika does something grave, I said, and Lyra nodded, still deep in her thoughts. I placed a hand on her shoulder, making her look at me. We'll deal with it. You don't have to worry about it, I assured her, and she nodded silently even though a storm was brewing inside her. The three of us sat in front of the giant screen in our office, waiting for Rikkard to come online. I had arranged this call on a short meeting, and even though I was prepared with everything, I felt anxious because Rikkard was unpredictable. Working with him would be tricky. I had made the mistake of signing a trade treaty with him, and it ended sourly between us because of huge losses. I wondered if he still held some grudges from the past. I wasn't very optimistic about this working out, but I was still willing to try because the situation demanded it. When Rikkard finally came online and his big, annoying face appeared on my screen, I couldn't help but scowl at him. "Who's that with you too?" It was the first thing Rikkard asked before we could exchange greetings. "Rick, we missed you so much." Caspian grinned with fake enthusiasm, and I tried my best not to groan at that. However, Rick's eyes remained on Lyra as she sat between us, trying to look innocent. "Meet Lyra. She's our mate." Caspian introduced her while I crossed my arms on my chest and studied Rick's expression. He narrowed his eyes at us and asked, "You two share a mate? When did that happen?" "We're not here to discuss our personal relationships, Rikkard," I stated grimly. "I want to make this quick because we need to catch Morgan soon." I felt Lyra grow slightly tense beside me. I reached for her hand under the table and stroked my thumb at the back of her hand. "I deserve to know about any stranger you show up with to an important meeting," Rikkard said. "She's our mate, Rikkard," I told him. "And why is she here?" He pressed. "I know about Morgan," Lyra said suddenly. "I've been after them for a long time, and I know a lot more about them than any person out there." This seemed to have gotten Rickard's attention, but at the same time I didn't like how his eyes gleamed. It was as if he held important cards against us. Maybe this is a trap and we've successfully walked into it. I thought about it for a second as I watched Rikkard. I didn't know why, but something felt odd about this meeting. Or maybe I was reading too much into a trivial matter. "Really? Then tell me everything you know about her," Rikkard said. 79. "Lyra, and why is she here?" the Mad Alpha asked, wearing an arrogant expression on his face. Even though he didn't say it, I could hear the misogyny in his voice. He was one of those alphas who believe that Luna shouldn't have any say in important pack matters, and should only be interested in child-rearing and playing kitty parties with the rest of the she-wolves of the pack. A part of me was glad that he didn't have a mate despite being older than Marius. He was most definitely going to die mateless, and I was glad for that. A she-wolf's life would be spared. Seeing me intensified the look of annoyance on his face. It made me wonder why I hadn't given him more trouble in the past. It'd have been worth it, but I wouldn't let go of any opportunity to trouble him in the future. I was putting up with him because we were running out of time, and I grew increasingly anxious whenever I thought of Arika messing with my servers. They were the work of my life. I wouldn't let that bitch get away if she somehow fucked them up. "I know Morgan," I answered this time. "I've been after them for a long time, and I know a lot more about them than any person out there." It felt odd speaking about myself in the third person, but I kept a straight face. Rikkard cocked an eyebrow at me while interest flashed in his eyes. I felt Marius tensing up beside me. He was still holding my hand under the table but had stopped drawing small circles with his thumb. "Really? Then tell me everything you know about her," he said with a particular emphasis on her. Marius and Caspian were both tense on my sides. "How do you know Morgan is a woman?" I asked, sounding curious. Rikkard chuckled. "Only a woman would try to infiltrate my military systems and fail so gloriously," Rikkard snarked. I clenched my fists under the table. I wanted to drive them straight to his face and wipe that smirk off permanently. It was decided once I got back my servers I was going to fuck him up and make an example of him. "What a rational way of thinking," I commented flatly. Rikkard barked another of his sardonic laughs and gave me a demeaning look. "I don't expect you to get it," he sneered. "But I know Morgan is a woman because I have my eyes and ears in a lot of places too." Instantly, I knew he was talking about the Weddard witches. They knew about me because I had worked closely with them. However, they had sworn secrecy about it. Still, this information found a way to be leaked, and I wondered how much more those witches had told him about me. For someone who was the champion of misogynists, he was too good of friends with the witches. "We can trade information then," Marius suggested. Rikkard cocked his eyebrow again in that arrogant way. "I'm not sure how much I'll be able to trust anything I get from her," he commented, and Caspian growled. I heard Marius grinding his teeth beside me. "But I want to catch that bitch and am willing to do anything for that," he added. "What a gentleman. Tell me about what Morgan tried to do with your systems," I probed immediately. "She tried to break into one of my military systems by pretending to be someone from my pack, but she got caught," Rikkard shrugged. With his response, I tried to gauge how much Arika could operate my servers without being locked out. "Can you send me more details?" I asked. "Did she leave any trails behind? Did she get anything first, or was she detected right away?" So many questions were bubbling in my head, and I wanted the answers to them to understand more about what Arika was up to. By the look on Rickard's face, I was expecting him to brush off my questions and demand something in return. But he surprised us by answering, "I'll send you whatever I can," and yes, she managed to get her hands on something very important. "I need to find her soon." The darkness in his tone was enough for me to guess what he was talking about. Frusterium. Fucking snow dust. This is not a wild guess but rather a hypothesis I started, but I have a feeling that this isn't Morgan. She doesn't work this way. How are you so sure? He asked. Oh, trust her. She knows what she's talking about, Caspian chipped. And I find it strange that we haven't gotten anything from Morgan for months, but for some reason she goes after you, Marius joined. This made Rikkard pause and think. I'm certain it's Morgan because of the trail she left. It had some of her signatures, Rikkard said, making me almost groan. Arika wasn't playing. She was out there to destroy me in every way she possibly could. We'd like to look at them too, Marius said. All right then. I'll send you whatever I can, Rikkard said in a dismissive tone, but before he could disconnect from the call, Caspian asked casually, what did she steal from you? I noticed how Rikkard clenched his jaw at the question. His nostrils flared angrily. None of your business, he stated and disconnected the call before we could utter another word. Something to do with snow dust. I'm sure about it, I answered Caspian's question. I thought so too, Caspian returned. That went better than my expectations, Marius commented, and I sighed deeply, still feeling annoyed by this whole exchange. But how did he know about Morgan being a woman? The Wettards, I told him. Witches love gossiping. It had to be them because I don't see any other source. I need to know who did this, I gritted to myself. I had been away for a couple of months, and the sky seemed to be collapsing on me. This was overwhelming but, at the same time, infuriating. I needed to tie a lot of loose ends. As if Caspian could read my enraging thoughts, he tugged at my hand, snapping me out of my head. Come with me, he said huskily. 80 Caspian. After talking to Rikkard, everyone's moods were shitty, especially Lyra's. I could feel it. She had been tense all day, even though I tried my best to ease her. She had finally started to get better, but I feared the current developments were stressing her out too much. The last thing I wanted was for her to hyperventilate and then ruin all her wolf's progress at healing her. Even though she was much better than before, her health was still vulnerable. It was the only reason why we hadn't been able to complete the bond with her. The urge to mark her and complete the bond was intense for my brother and me, but we were taking our time. Lyra still needed to be fully prepared for it. She still needed to phase into her wolf once and strengthen her connection to her wolf first. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to withstand two markings at the same time. To make matters worse, the way things were going, she was more stressed out than ever, slowing down the whole process. Come with me, I said, tugging at her hand after the call with Rikkard. Marius nodded at me silently, understanding what I was about to do. I needed to start preparing Lyra for the marking. Slowly and gradually. She sighed deeply, letting me lead her out of the office and back to her room. She protested as we passed by the library where she had temporarily set up her computers. I scoffed and stirred her back to her bedroom. I've been trying to track my lost servers with the ones I have. I had them all synced, but for some reason, they're unable to pick up anything, Lyra said mindlessly as we entered her bedroom. I hadn't been paying any attention to what she was saying. As soon as we were inside, I pinned her to the wall and pressed my whole body against mine. She gasped and gave me a heated look, looking somewhat flush with the small gesture of mine. I grinned at her, my wolf stirring inside me for her. Enough with work, I told her darkly, it's us time now. Instantly, I smelled her arousal perfuming the air, and I couldn't help but groan in approval. I loved the way she reacted to me. It made me not swell painfully for her. Were you not paying any attention during the call? She asked, wrapping her arms around me to pull me closer until our lips were a few inches away. I wanted to capture them right away and ravage her, but I had something else in my mind. No, I was thinking about my pussy cat. I told her my pussy cat, I whispered, taking the small toy out of my pocket without her noticing it, and then slipping my hand into her pants. She sucked in a breath, and the smell of arousal thickened in the air. I need your knot, Caspian, she whimpered as I started to gently massage her clit. She moaned and clung to me, making me groan. I have something better than that, I told her, slathering her wetness around her entrance to prepare her for the toy. She was unaware of it because I had concealed it in my palm. What could be better than my mate's knot? She groaned, and her words made my knot twitch with need. I wanted to drop the toy and give her my knot right away, but I continued with my plan. True, but you'll like this, I promise, I told her. What is? Before she could ask, I slipped the small round toy into her pussy, letting its tail hang out of her pussy. Caspian. She cried my name as the toy started vibrating inside her. I couldn't help but capture her lips, drinking in her moans. She squirmed against me as ripples of pleasure washed over her. That feels so good, she whimpered against my lips. I knew my pussy cat would love her toy, I groaned, picking her up and placing her on the bed. She sighed deeply as the toy started vibrating. I had its remote in my pocket. Ass up and spread your legs, I commanded, and she obeyed right away. Good girl, I whispered to her, taking her pants off to reveal the tail of the toy sticking out of her wet lips. The sight made me groan. Just in time, Marius entered the room to join me. He grunted at the toy. It had been his idea. She likes your toy, I told him, turning it on again to make her quiver with need. She whimpered as her thighs quivered. Marius moved to my side before I turned the level of vibrations up, and she cried out, her pussy going wetter in front of our eyes. Please. She cried as her thighs quivered. I've got you, baby girl. Marius reached out to touch her clit, while I continued to adjust the level of vibrations, making her squirm even more. You look so good, quivering with need for us. Fuck, I'm not taking that toy out of you, pussycat, I told Lyra. Marius groaned at my words, licking her juices off her inner thigh while still teasing her clit. Please. I need a knot inside me, Lyra begged. My pussy is clenching too hard. Stop torturing my baby girl. Marius growled at me before he put his mouth on her wet pussy finally and gave her a moment of relief. I chuckled and turned down the vibration. Was that too much for you, baby girl? Marius asked, pulling her into his lap and spreading her legs to stroke her clit. Lyra threw her head back on his shoulder as she breathed hard. I wasn't ready, she whimpered while Marius continued to stoke her clit, but he didn't take the toy from her yet. We need to go slow with her, Caspian, my brother told me, but I grunted. I want her to wear my mark so bad, I told him, and he sighed deeply because I knew he wanted the same thing. However, Marius was more patient than me. Lyra moaned at my words and started grinding against Marius's knot. I want both of you. No, fuck, I need you two inside me at the same time, she groaned. We need to work for that. Can you take me in your ass, baby girl? Marius asked. I want to try, Lyra groaned. I want to try it so bad, please. Marius and I both growled at her words. Even though we were the ones playing with her, she always seemed to be the one in control of us because all she had to say was please once, and we'd be ready to give her everything. All right, baby girl. We're going to prepare your ass for use. Are you ready for that? Marius asked. I was already digging out the lubrication from the bedside drawer for her. Yes, Lyra breathed. I want both of my holes used, Marius and I groaned at her words. Even though we were supposed to go slow with her, I knew we wouldn't last long with our crumbling resolve. 81. Lyra, I felt ready to burst with the toy inside me. It was something completely unexpected, adding more thrill to it, making my body hotter with need. Also, having both my mates in my bedroom made me needier for them. I was ready to beg them to give me their knots, but, like always, they were taking their sweet time with me, preparing me for them. I want both of my holes used, I told them, not caring if they went rough on me or not. I just needed to have them in one way or the other and somehow complete the damn bond. My wolf was constantly nagging me to mark them, to seal everything so that I wouldn't have to care about them leaving me. Even though I was sure now that they wouldn't leave me no matter what, I still had this irrational fear inside me. It had always been there since I was orphaned, and I had to hop from one place to another and get deposited back into the orphanage. Even though I was now an adult, sometimes that feeling of uncertainty found a way to creep in. It made my wolf want to fulfill the bond even more, especially now that she could finally be with her mates without me trying to fight the bond. The feelings that were surging through me were too much to bear. Be careful about what you ask for, baby girl, Marius whispered in my ear as he stroked my clit for the last time, and then turned me around until I was draped on his lap with my ass up in the air. Before I could respond to him, he spanked me hard, making me whimper. Right on time, Caspian turned on the toy, and I screamed as my pussy clenched hard, begging for a knot to fill it, though they wouldn't give it to me yet. Not so easily. Even though I was on edge, ready to burst with an orgasm, they slowed down the play even more, taking their sweet, sweet time to torture me. So beautiful, Marius growled, shifting me so that my pussy was easily accessible to him. He parted my butt cheeks to expose my tight hole. I sucked in a breath as he stroked his thumb over it. So tight, Caspian groaned behind me. I looked over my shoulder to find my mates staring at my hole together, a solemn look on their faces as Marius poked and probed it. I whimpered when he applied a bit too much pressure. I was anticipating for him to dip a finger inside me, but he didn't. I bit my lower lip to fight the sound of impatience. I needed it so fucking badly. She's never had her ass used, Marius muttered. I sucked in a breath as Marius dipped his head and licked the hole. Tingles shot throughout my body, making the throbbing between my legs worse. I hummed, clutching the sheets and arching my ass up even more for them. Tell us, pussycat. Have you ever played with your other hole? Caspian asked. No, never, I answered right away, and I swear both of them groaned. That's why it's so fucking tight and needs so much work, Caspian commented, and then I felt something cold and liquidly on my hole making me shiver. That was some lube, baby girl, Marius told me so I wouldn't be left wondering. I huffed as he rubbed the lube over my hole, and then slowly and gently slipped a finger inside me. I clenched around him immediately, feeling uneasy at first, but soon, it was replaced with excitement. How does that feel? Marius asked me with care. Good, I mumbled, watching the two obsess over my hole, like it was the best thing on earth. It made me wetter. I was dripping my juices all over Marius's pants. Let me touch her, Caspian breathed, and Marius took his finger out, giving me that sense of loss, but then Caspian dipped his finger inside me and slowly started to fuck with it. I squirmed, wiggling my ass slightly. I needed more than just a finger. I needed more. Does that feel good, baby girl? Marius asked, his voice low and thick with lust. Fuck yes, it feels so fucking good. I need more. Please give me more, I squealed. Caspian laughed and abruptly dipped another finger inside me, making me freeze. Marius groaned and reached for my breast and squeezed it hard. I could feel his knot growing harder beneath me. All of us were so fucking needy, yet these brothers were hellbent on taking this slow. This frustrated me but at the same time did nothing to ease my need. More, I demanded. Immediately Caspian removed his fingers, and before I could say anything, I felt him taking out the vibrator from my pussy, and in the next moment, he was pushing it against my tight hole. I sucked in a breath as he pushed it inside. Fuck, I whispered before he turned it on, and again, I was squirming with the need to come. My pussy clenched hard around nothing, making me cry out in frustration and need. Look how needy she is, Caspian muttered, his voice heavy with lust. How much she wants our knots, please, I cried, touching Marius's knot over his pants. His bulge was hard, and just imagining my pussy clenching around it made me tremble. The fluttering sensation in my ass wasn't helping at all. Yes, beg, pussycat. Tell us how much you want this. Tell us how much you want your mates inside you. Tell us how much you want our knots to be pulsing inside you and filling you with our seed. Please. I need your knot. I feel empty. My pussy clenches hard, I whimpered, not having enough verve to speak. All I needed was a release because it was becoming too unendurable. I'm giving her my knot, Marius said right away, and finally, he deposited me on the bed and positioned himself between my legs while undoing his pants. I almost cried with happiness when he pulled out his hard knot and almost purple knot. It was what I had been yearning for all fucking day. Please. Marius, I whimpered as he rubbed the tip of his cock against my wetness. I've got you, baby girl, he told me before finally thrusting his cock in my wet pussy. I took all of him, including his knot, in a single thrust without an issue. Fuck, she had been really wet for us, Marius muttered as he bent down to capture my lips. I kissed him hungrily while feeling his knot pulsing inside me. At the same time, I felt Caspian turning the vibrator's level up a notch. I was writhing under Marius. I could tell Marius was also feeling the vibrations against his knot, making him growl. He pulled his cock and knot out of me and then slammed right back in. His thrusts were strong and urgent, almost rocking the bed as he pumped into me fiercely. As his thrusts grew more powerful and urgent, I felt the vibrations increase, and soon Marius slammed into me hard, forcing me to come while he filled my womb with his thick hot seed. The sound of our labored breaths filled the room. The toy had stopped working and I could finally catch a break. Meanwhile, Marius's knot pulsed away in my pussy, doing its work. Marius busied himself by showing my breasts some attention. His hot mouth closed around one of my nipples, and he sucked hard while he kneaded my other breast. I sighed deeply, feeling somewhat content, but I hadn't had Caspian yet. He had been watching us fuck while he controlled the vibrator with an evil smile on his face. Of course it had to be him. He started all of this event, though Marius was equally involved. "Did you enjoy that, pussy cat?" he asked smugly, edging closer to me. I wanted to grab him and wipe that smirk off his face with a heated kiss. I really did. I grinned at him, brushing my fingers over the bulge in his pants, and he groaned. I knew his knot was filled with his seed, ready to burst. "But I need this too," I said, tapping his bulge. So demanding, he commented. "Don't act as if you're not dying to use my mouth," I shot back. And I knew it was the truth because a pained look crossed his face. "Open up and give it to me." "Such a greedy little pussy cat," he muttered, undoing his pants anyway. I smiled at him slyly before taking him in my mouth while Marius's ntu still pulsed inside me. I knew his knot would take its time with me since it had its own mind. Until then, I pleasured Caspian and drained his knot with my mouth. It was the best way to end the night. 82 Lyra. I woke up the next day with Caspian, feeling somewhat sore between the legs but fully content. Last night, after Marius had given me his knot, I took Caspian's knot as well. After that, the three of us lay together with me lodged between them. It felt like such a bliss having both my mates on either side while I fell asleep. I wanted to have this every single night. However, as good as my nights were, I was equally cranky in the morning. I was never a morning person to begin with, and after waking up after the explosion, my body hated me even more in the morning. But Caspian whispered sweet nothings to me and got me in the shower. My mood improved quickly as we showered together. Afterwards, he took care of me by rubbing some ointment between my legs and giving me a heated kiss. Marius happened to join us for breakfast after his morning run, and my mood was better to see him. I sat on his lap as I had my breakfast while my wolf purred, feeling content. The brothers discussed pack matters while eating, and I listened to them intently to learn more about their pack affairs. I knew a lot about their pack already due to snooping around for years, but I hadn't met many people personally except for Fidel. Thinking of Fidel, I had to ask, how is Fidel doing? The two of them tensed at my question, especially Marius. I felt his free hand heavily resting on my thigh as if silently staking a claim. Possessiveness flashed in Caspian's eyes as well as he cocked an eyebrow at me. "What about him?" Caspian asked. There was an edge to his voice. I didn't miss how his gaze possessively landed on me while Marius lifted his hand from my thigh and wrapped his arm around my waist as if he were afraid I would flee from his lap. I smiled innocently at them. "I haven't met anyone from the pack yet except for Fidel," I said. "I wanted to know if he's alive after I tried to pull that boyfriend stunt with him." "He's alive," Marius's voice rumbled behind him. His voice was thick with possessiveness. "You don't have to worry about him, baby girl." I couldn't help but giggle at that. "He's alive as long as you don't go about claiming him to be your boyfriend, pussycat," Caspian said. I smiled at him slyly. "You don't have to worry about him. It's just that I had fun fooling him," I shrugged, and Marius's body loosened slightly under me. "You're not seeing him anyhow. He avoids this part of the pack like a plague now," Marius informed me. "That's a shame," I pouted. "I'd have liked to have someone to toy with." "Baby girl, the only toy you're getting is that tiny little thing we put in your pussy." Marius's voice was a whisper, but there was so much power in it that it made me quiver. It didn't help that my pussy clamped at the memories of last night, seeking there not even though it was sore from being used. Caspian gave a dark smile, making my pussy flutter along with my heart. "Don't worry, Lyra. We'll get you more of those toys so your pussy always has something to play with," Caspian promised darkly, almost pulling a moan out of my lips. Meanwhile, Marius chuckled behind me. His laugh was deep and rumbly, giving me all those annoying butterflies in my stomach. "She likes the idea," Marius commented. "No, I don't," I muttered, making the two laugh at me. It was a lie and all of us knew that. There was no point in denying that because they could smell my arousal thick in the air. I couldn't hide it no matter how hard I tried. As soon as breakfast was over, I went straight to the library to look at my servers. I was done running all the diagnostics on my servers, and they turned out to be utterly untouched. That was a great sign. I had been trying to connect them to the stolen ones so I could hopefully track them or get any hints as to where they could be. But so far I didn't have any luck. I continued to go through whatever I had stored in these servers to see if I could get anything to help us. It was afternoon when Marius visited me to tell me that Rikkard had sent them all the files. I didn't waste any moment to look through them to see if I could find anything. Any hints about where my sister could be hiding those servers. I knew well that she was using them because the stuff she tried to do with Rikkard was only possible with them. I got busy combing through everything but didn't get much except for learning that my sister was good with what she was doing. And she had purposefully botched the attack on Rikkard's military systems to send him a message and also throw me under the bus at the same time. I hated to admit it, but she was excelling at impersonating me. She tried to fuck with some other alphas as well in the next couple of days so she could get others more worked up about me. I already had a long list of people with a target on my back, but thanks to my sister, the list almost doubled in a week. This led me to spend most of my waking hours in the library with my computers, trying to counter whatever she was doing. I couldn't do much with whatever limited things I was left with, but I kept trying. I continued to track all her activities to find out where she was, but to no avail. The brothers were busy with their pack activities too. They had been postponing a lot of work since I landed in the hospital, and now that I was finally better, they had a lot of backlogs to clear too. However, they tried to provide me with as much information as possible from the other alphas. At the same time, I continued my work, even collaborating with their cyber team to help me track everything Arika was doing. It had been almost a week, but I was still as clueless as before, which was more frustrating than ever. I grew increasingly anxious as the days passed until I couldn't take it anymore. I was pacing in the library one evening, thinking about what to do next when Caspian found me. "You need to go for a run," he told me, and my wolf howled at his words. I swallowed at his words. I hadn't phased into my wolf since I woke up after the accident. Even though I had gotten used to my cybernetic arm, I was unsure and anxious to see how it'd turn out. "We'll be there for you, Lyra," Caspian assured me after reading my expression. I was hesitant, but I decided to go. I needed to let my wolf out sometime anyway, and I couldn't keep postponing this. This had to be done. My wolf stirred with excitement at the thought of being let out and united with her mates. She had been looking forward to this so much, and I was finally going to give my wolf what she wanted too much. 83. Lyra. It was starting to get darker when I stepped out with Caspian. The snow-covered pine trees stood so tall and proud around their house. I shivered as a chilly wind tickled my skin. I hated snow and anything cold, but as the sun disappeared behind the trees, its rogue rays would hit the snowy treetops to make them appear studded with diamonds. It was beautiful to watch. I took a moment to admire them. I had hardly stepped out of their house since they brought me here. Caspian had taken me for a walk once, and then there was another time when Marius walked me to the hospital for a minor scan of my head. Apart from that, either I had been too exhausted or too busy with shit to step out and go somewhere. Not to mention, the landscape was still covered with snow. I hated snow, but it looked beautiful today. And as I filled my lungs with some fresh air, the tightness I felt in my shoulder faded away. Yes, I had a lot to worry about, but at the moment the evening breeze and the beautiful sunset were too precious to miss. It immediately improved the shitty mood I had been having for the past week. I could tell Caspian felt the same because his face was covered with bliss as soon as we stepped outside. I followed him as he led me towards the woods at the back of the house before he started stripping. I watched him peel his clothes off to reveal those beautiful tattoos all over his body. I had run my fingers over them so many times that they were now part of my memory. I couldn't take my eyes off his beautiful body. He was a work of art, and so was his brother. When he was done stripping, he turned around and flashed me a wide smile. I tried not to stare at his cock and knot. The sight of them made me needly almost instantly. "Let me take your clothes off, pussycat," he whispered darkly, stepping closer to me. He removed my thick hoodie and captured my lips while undoing the front buttons of my blouse. He took his lips off me briefly to tug my blouse over my head before reaching for my bra. I shivered at how cold it was outside. Caspian continued to take my clothes. He pulled down my pant and panties all at once, making me step out of them. When I was completely bare, I felt slightly self-conscious. I hadn't been naked in the open for a long time, and with my cybernetic arm, I felt even more awkward. "It's going to be all right," Caspian assured me as he wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me against his naked body. I clung to him for warmth while he placed more kisses all over me. whispering sweet nothings between those kisses. While he was kissing me, I heard snow crunching behind us. I gasped at the enormous black wolf that stepped out of the line of trees. My breath lodged into my throat. It was Marius. I knew it was him as soon as I looked into his enchanting golden eyes. He looked majestic as he sat by the edge of the woods watching us, waiting. He was waiting for my wolf, which made me aware of my wolf's longing for her mates. Seeing Marius's wolf encouraged me to start preparing for the phasing. She wanted to be with her mate so severely. I had tried to suppress her so fucking much that it made me feel guilty now. I should have given her what she wanted long ago, but I would do it now. However, my wolf was anxious about it because of our arm. "We're here for you," Caspian whispered to me. "Now focus," he urged. I closed my eyes and rested my forehead against his shoulder while filling my lungs with deep breaths. In and out. In and out. In and out. I kept on going, focusing on my wolf. I imagined her brown fur, fluffy tail, majestic snout, and silver eyes. It had been a while since I had let her out. My wolf slowly stirred awake, taking over me. I groaned as the first wave of pain washed over me. Shifting after a long time was always harrowing. Felt like the first shift. Caspian continued to whisper sweet, encouraging words to me as I embraced the pain. "You're doing great, pussycat. Keep going. Show us your wolf. We've been waiting to meet her for so long. You can do it." "Yes, that's my girl. Marius's wolf is watching you so intently. He can't wait to chase your wolf, play with her and mate with her. You're his baby girl and my pussycat. I know you can do this. We're so proud of you." The pain was unbearable by now, and I was crouching on the snow, heaving as more and more pain engulfed me. It was significantly more painful around my cybernetic arm. I whimpered in pain. A tear escaped my eye. Caspian wiped it away and continued with his encouraging words, crouching beside me. When my bones finally started snapping and shifting, the pain rose so fucking much. I squeezed my eyes shut and focused on breathing as I felt my body morph into my wolf. With each passing second, I felt less and less in control of my body. It was a sign that my wolf was taking over as she continued to push me at the back of her head. When I opened my eyes next, I was on all fours and panting with my tongue hanging out. Everything felt normal. The cybernetic arm had rearranged itself into my wolf's front leg. I tested it out for a moment and got used to it instantly. It must be because I was already used to the arm in my human form, and the chip in my brain had been busy calibrating my arm with my whole body all this time. Despite the pain, the transition had been relatively effortless. A gray wolf stood before me, watching me intently with its similar golden eyes before it started circling me. The black wolf also stalked towards me and started sniffing and circling me, giving me a few rogue licks and nips here and there, making me shiver. My wolf purred out loud as her mates continued to lick and preen her with utmost care and curiosity. She sniffed and licked them back. She took her time enjoying this special kind of attention that she was getting from them. She had never gotten this type of treatment before, and she loved it way too much. It continued until my wolf seemed to have memorized their scent and tastes and vice versa. She finally rose from the snow and edged towards the woods, feeling slightly unsure because of the snow and the growing darkness. Marius took the lead, breaking into a run, and my wolf followed him instantly. Caspian remained behind me, nudging me and licking me whenever I stopped to look around. We ran along the territory boundary until my wolf memorized it. It was more like a warm-up for us, especially for me. After we were done running, we took a brief break by a frozen lake. Caspian's wolf got busy cleaning its paws while Marius's wolf stretched. My wolf was very aware of the two, and once she got the opportunity, she dashed into the woods with a wolfish grin, knowing that her mates would follow her. It was time for play. 84. Lyra, my wolf, ran deep into the woods with an unstoppable speed. It was after such a long time I had let her out, and she was having all the fun she could. Her excitement was on the peak. Knowing her mates were following her closely, it made her run faster. She wanted to give them a good chase. She wanted them to hunt her and then mate with her. She was completely in the mood, and nothing would ever stop her. Marius's wolf growled at her in warning, racing right behind her, but she ignored him and kept running. She dodged all the trees, and even though she disliked the snow as much as me, it didn't bother her tonight. She had been set free after such a long time. Snow was the last thing on her mind. She had decided that it wasn't going to stop her. But the snow had other plans for my wolf. My wolf took one sharp turn to put the brothers off her tail, but it backfired on her because she ended up stepping in thick snow. Before my wolf could figure out what was happening, she was half buried in snow, her hind legs sticking out. While my wolf struggled to escape the snow, I heard bones snapping before Caspian's roaring laughter boomed through the woods. My wolf growled at him in a warning. I felt Marius's wolf behind me trying to dig the snow around me. I wiggled my legs again and earned another laugh from Caspian. My wolf had decided that she was going to make him regret that once she was out of the snow. When Marius's wolf dug sufficient snow around me so I could move, my wolf dug herself out, instantly stepping away from the deep snow and shaking her whole body to get off the snow. Caspian was still in his laughing hysteria. Marius's wolf ignored him while he circled my wolf, sniffing and nudging to ensure I wasn't hurt. I was planning on running again, but as if sensing my thoughts, Marius's wolf immediately lunged at mine and pinned her against the ground. My wolf playfully snapped her jaw and growled at him to give him some trouble. Marius's wolf tried to scuff mine while she thrashed her head on either side, not ready to give up yet. She snapped her jaws at him and gave him threatening growls to make him fight harder. She was being dramatic in the best way, and I couldn't help but roll my eyes at her. "She's so spicy," Caspian commented somewhere ahead of us. I couldn't see him because my wolf was too busy working up Marius's wolf, but I heard bones snapping again. Caspian had phased back into his wolf. However, Marius's wolf was relentless, and when he finally managed to scuff my wolf, he let out a thunderous growl that made my body shake. I could feel the ripple of growl all over my wolf's body because his wolf had mine pinning down to the ground. Just to be more dramatic, my wolf let out a low squeal. Caspian's wolf made a barking noise in response. It was as if he was mocking me, aggravating my wolf further. She was going to give him an even harder time now. I could feel Marius's wolf's teeth scrapping in the loose skin at the back of my wolf's neck. Instinctively, she stopped resisting and moved her tail to a side to expose her opening for him. Marius's wolf wasted no time to enter her. My wolf let out a low howl as he entered her, giving her the whole knot and locking up with her. As soon as Marius's wolf was sure that mine couldn't escape the knot, he let go of the scruff and started licking my wolf and nibbling her ear. Caspian's wolf lingered nearby, watching us mate, waiting for his turn. I could see the eagerness in his wolf's eyes. My wolf wanted him the same way, but she would give him extra trouble for making fun of her. The thought made her even more excited. Marius's wolf's knot kept pulsing inside mine for a while before it let her go. Marius's wolf licked mine before getting off and letting my wolf go. However, before Caspian's wolf could get me, my wolf dashed into the woods again, but this time she was more careful about the snow. Caspian followed close behind me, followed by Marius. My wolf zigzagged through the trees, making it harder for Caspian's wolf to catch mine. She wasn't going to let him so quickly. Soon, Caspian's wolf grew increasingly impatient, and my wolf felt satisfied with him. When he finally managed to catch my wolf snapped her jaws at him, but unlike Marius, she gave him a small bite on the shoulder. When he was distracted by the bite, she managed to tug his tail too, making him even more frustrated. She was enjoying every bit of the act. Marius's wolf watched us, lingering close by me. I could tell that he wasn't done with the mating yet. He wanted to have a second, third, and up to fifth round. He wanted more. Now that their wolves had finally met mine, I doubted they'd let her go without mating with her at least 5 to 6 times in the night. Meeting my wolf for the first time had their wolves quite excited, and this first meeting wouldn't last so quickly. It was going to be long and intense. My wolf snapped at Caspian's wolf, irritating him even more before finally lunging at him and tackling him down. The two wrestled until Caspian's wolf managed to get the upper hand and pin my wolf down before mating with her. Unlike Marius's wolf, his wolf didn't let go of the scruff even though the knot had locked us too. Instead, he was extra rough with my wolf and she completely loved it. Caspian's wolf took some time to let me go, and when he did, Marius's wolf was back again on mine, ready for a second round. My wolf took him eagerly, feeling happy and content to be with her mates again. This went on for the whole night. My wolf would let them mate her before she'd give them a good chase. She'd then let them catch her and continue her play. It was one of the best nights we had so far. And a part of me couldn't help but feel like it was the calm before the storm. 85 Lyra. A few more days passed, but still, I hadn't been able to get anything substantial that could lead me to my bitch sister. However, she continued fucking around with people, but now she was taking it to a different level by fucking with the werewolf council. This made me more anxious, and no matter how much the brothers tried to ease me, it didn't help. I spent more and more time holed up in the library with my computers, trying even harder. The brothers would have to drag me out of there to get me to eat, sleep, and function healthily. Caspian was more creative with his ways of dragging me out of there. He'd use the toys to tease me, to numb me so much with need that I'd have to seek the brothers to ease the throbbing between my legs. Even though being with them helped me take my mind off briefly, I returned to the cloud of darkness when I returned to my computers in the library. We talked to Rikkard again for more clues, but he didn't have much to offer. This left me completely alone to find out about my sister. However, one morning, I woke up to find something odd happening to my computers. At first I couldn't figure out what was happening, but as soon as I found some files transferring themselves from one of my stolen servers, I realized instantly that my sister was at it again, but I wasn't going to let her get away with it this time. After beating around the bush, she finally decided to fuck with the servers that I still had. Even though the servers she stole had most of the important stuff, I never stored the complete keys to all my sensitive files in one place. I had half of them stored in the stolen ones, and the other half were in the servers that I still had. She was trying to break in with the help of my stolen servers to go undetected by my security systems, since my systems were interconnected and wouldn't sense anything off. But my systems were still somewhat complicated and required keys that only I knew. She must have put in the wrong keys that somehow altered the systems and froze everything for a while. I walked in on the frozen systems at the right time. I unfroze everything using the keys that only I knew and started bridging my systems to the stolen servers, rapidly changing all the keys required to unlock the system freeze so I could lock her out for a while. I had my heart in my mouth as I changed the keys, hoping it'd be too late for Arika to notice and figure out what I was doing. However, she started shutting everything down almost immediately, so I wouldn't be able to penetrate deeper into my system and lock her out completely. It was a race and I was finally hopeful. I started logging all the changes Arika had made to the systems on my stolen servers and tried to find out if she had somehow plugged them into any foreign systems. I needed to somehow get to know her location. That was all I was looking for in the heat of the moment. I was logging everything into my systems, anything that could help me know what she was doing, and where she might be before she could lock me out again and change everything. I screamed when my stolen servers went offline abruptly. She must have gotten frustrated and pulled the plug to shut everything down immediately. This halted and froze all the logging my computer was doing. My main screen went completely blank while the supporting monitors started showing logging unsuccessful in a giant font. I wanted to punch my fist through the screen, but before I could do something stupid like that in frustration, I stepped away, clutching my hair and crouching on the ground. What happened? Marius asked as both the brothers burst into the library. They must have heard me scream. Are you in pain again? I'm calling the doctor. Caspian shot instantly, but before he could leave I shot up. I'm not in pain, I cleared immediately. Then why did you scream? Tell me, Lyra. What happened? Marius asked, his voice laced thickly with urgency. I licked my lips and glanced at my screen again. Logging unsuccessful. Logging unsuccessful. Logging unsuccessful. I took a deep breath and closed my eyes to calm myself down for a moment. I was still feeling on the edge due to what had almost happened. I almost had her, but she slipped through my fingers. She's definitely in pain but doesn't want us to know, Caspian accused. No, it's not that, I dismissed again, but tears filled my eyes. I was feeling so frustrated and angry. I almost had her. I couldn't help but cry out loud even though I was trying everything to calm myself down. What? How? Marius asked. Both of the brothers looked shocked. I tried not to look at my computers again because I was afraid I would throw a tantrum if I saw the logging unsuccessful sign again. I needed to be calm and collected in this situation. If I let my emotions get the best of me and made a wrong decision, I could destroy everything. She connected the servers and tried to access some keys to the sensitive files. Those files had all the evidence of Rikkard's plans to go to the Arctic and mine Frosterium. I had half the keys stored in this system. I locked her out briefly and accessed my stolen servers, but she pulled the plug, and everything went offline. I want to kill her so bad. I was so close. So fucking close to getting to that bitch. Lyra. Calm down. Marius stepped in to touch me while Caspian looked at my computers. I wrapped my arms around Marius and buried my face in his chest. I inhaled his scent deeply, and it eased me slightly. I loosened a bit in his arms and sighed deeply when he wrapped his arms around me and pulled me into a deep embrace. It'll be alright, baby girl. Everything will work out. I know you'll find a way. You always do, he whispered gently while running his fingers through my hair. I'm going to start graphically planning Arika's torture, I muttered against his chest, seeking more of his warmth. Even though Marius's presence had this imposing aura that overwhelmed me from the beginning, I felt so calm and content whenever I was with him. My wolf purred, seeking him out. Marius pulled back slightly to kiss my forehead before placing another heated kiss dangerously close to my lips. It was tempting, and for once I wanted to numb myself with a heated kiss. Come look at this, Caspian spoke up abruptly. I froze and slowly turned around to find that my screens weren't flashing, logging unsuccessful messages repeatedly this time. No. Instead, lines and lines of code were appearing on the screens. This meant logging was successful. 86. Lyra. When I noticed the lines of code appearing on the screens, I returned to my computers to look at them. I watched my computers log everything while I held my breath. Of course, they couldn't log everything, but still they managed to get most of the things before Arika pulled the plug. This was still something, and something was always better than nothing. I chewed on my bottom lip nervously as I watched my computer log as much as possible. Caspian sat beside me, silent and watching, while Marius lingered behind us. His eyes were on the screen as well. When my computer was done logging as much as it had managed to find, I got to work instantly, scanning the code to see what Arika had been up to so far. I was surprised that Arika hadn't touched much of the system. However, she had tried to open the sensitive files repeatedly and failed each time. She must have figured out that I had stored half the keys in these servers, which was why she attempted to access them. She has been trying to access the keys of those sensitive files, I told them, all our eyes glued to the screen. Did you manage to get anything regarding where she might be? Marius asked. I continued to chew on my lip nervously as I continued to scroll through the lines of code. There was a lot, and it'd take me some time to figure out. I needed to figure it out before Arika could be alerted and take my servers somewhere else. Or even worse, she does something to them. No, I can't let that happen. Not yet, but I'm looking, I answered. I'm sending it all to our team and we'll have them look through this as well. We need to be quick, Caspian said, grabbing the second keyboard, and I nodded silently. All of us were thinking about the same thing. I'll be with them looking at it. Let us know immediately if anything happens, Caspian said before leaving abruptly. This was one of the things about Caspian. When he was playful, he went all the way to play with me, and whenever he was working, he was intensely focused and nothing could ever distract him. Marius lingered in the library while going through the code with me. I enjoyed his presence beside me while I worked, but he had to leave my side to attend to pack matters. This left me alone with my computers again. Not that I minded being alone with my computers. I enjoyed being with my computers and cooking up new stuff, but with how Arika had been keeping me on my toes, things were making me more anxious. While Caspian reviewed the logs with the cyber team, I used my time to make malware software for my system in case Arika tried to pull something like this again. The malware would instantly freeze the system when Arika tried to link my remaining servers with the stolen ones. Also, the malware would instantly change all the passwords and keys and lock her out permanently so she wouldn't be able to fuck around anymore. I wanted to be prepared for her this time, and there was no fucking way I was going to let her slip. However, a couple more days passed, and she didn't do anything. I tried to reach out to the servers, but I got nothing. This made me anxious. I wondered if she did something to my servers. If she physically destroyed them, then I'd be heartbroken, but it'd fuel my bloodthirst for Arika. I mentally plotted all the things I was going to do to her once she was caught. I'd make her beg for her life. We had a lot of old unfinished business together that I'd gladly take care of. After Caspian had gone through the code with the cyber team, they had managed to get a location, but it wasn't exact. It was the name of a city up north, almost bordering Rikkard's territory. A city named Curses. I had never had a reason ever to go there, and it was always cold there, even more reasons for me not to go there. But there was a possibility that Arika could be there, which made me want to go there as soon as possible. If I could teleport there, I'd be already in Curses, combing through the city looking for that stupid bitch. The fact that she was close to Rikkard's snow court and the Arctic made me even more nervous. I couldn't help but wonder what she could be doing there with my servers. The chances of her living there were slim, not that I had heard much about her after she ran away from the orphanage. Everyone there had thought her to be dead. But whether she lived in Curses or not, I didn't have a good feeling about her hosting my servers there. She was planning more than just messing around under my name. No. Arika was a girl who loved to be grand. She was an ambitious bitch and so was I, but she had this madness to her that always made me uneasy. The orphan nurses said that it was because our mother dropped Arika when she was a baby. I always believed it was something she was born with. It must have something to do with her biological father. Our mother was crazy enough, but she wasn't so far gone. We need to go there as soon as possible, I told the brothers as soon as we learned about Curses. I have my doubts about Curses, Marius said. This could very well be something to throw us off. But what if she's already there? I asked, so close to panicking. I wasn't like this before, but things had changed with me after the explosion. It was like I could afford to express myself even more rather than suppress everything and put up a cold front. The brothers allowed me to be vulnerable because they always made me feel like they had my back and that I was always protected. We can send some of our men to look for her, Caspian suggested, but I shook my head. Arika might get alerted and move if we do that, I countered, and Marius nodded pensively. His eyes were unfocused as he thought deeply. We need to take a chance and go there. We need to be quick. She can't know that we are there looking for her, I said. But what if she isn't there? Caspian asked. I could tell that he was trying to plan out other options. If she's not there, we wouldn't have any other option but to look somewhere. But I doubt that. If you found Curses in one of the logs of the service connection, then I don't think that's something to throw us off. You can't mess with the logs. They are always accurate, I explained. Marius nodded, but Caspian still seemed reluctant about going to Curses. We can't just go there and start looking for her randomly. Curses is a big city. We need some source, Caspian said, and I nodded. Is she a rogue wolf? Marius asked. No, that's the problem. She's human, I sighed deeply. She has never been part of any pack. And I scoured through the internet and didn't find anything about her anywhere else either, I said. Well then we'll figure out something on our way there. But I think we must go there before it's too late, Marius said, and Caspian nodded. So it was. We started preparing for another trip, but it'd be far north, the northernmost palace I'd ever be, and hopefully I'd find Arika there. Stay tuned for more thrilling adventures with the Alphas. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.